Todd, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
As we tape on Thursday morning, 10 victories at the meet. You sit comfortably atop the leading trainer standings as per usual. Assess your meet up to this point. How's it gone?
It's gone well. I think we've gotten off to a good start. Got a couple important stake wins to begin with, and looks like the 2-year-olds are running well. So, like always for Saratoga, our success at this meet largely depends on how our 2-year-olds run, and we're excited about the way it started.
Well, we don't have time to look back at all 10 winners, but we're going to look at a couple, beginning with the Coaching Club American Oaks and Stop Charging Maria. As we pick it up, she's number 1, third on the outside. Todd, on paper, it looked like, overall a weak grade 1, but there was nothing weak about this performance.
No, I think this was certainly a breakthrough performance for her 3-year-old year, and we had accomplished quite a bit as a 2-year-old. Ended the year with wins in the Tempted and the Demoiselle, and things just didn't go really well this winter for her, and her first 2 starts were a little disappointing. It seems like once we got her up to Saratoga, she really things turned around for her. Delivered a big race in the Black Eyed Susan, but I think this was a special performance from her, and on paper it was a little bit of a weak group, but I think, like you say, the way that she did it was pretty convincing, and it was a big win for her, and to get that grade 1 that we've been looking for.
How'd she come out of the coaching club, and is the Alabama next?
So far, she's come out of it really well. She's been training great, and certainly the Alabama's where we're headed.
What do you think about 10 furlongs for her?
If you'd have asked me that last year, I would have said probably not. But based on her now having 3 wins at a mile and an eighth, I'd have to say it's well within her scope.
Well, you mentioned 2-year-olds and how important they are to you here at Saratoga. We're about to take a look at an awfully nice-looking debut from last Saturday. This is Competitive Edge, and he is number 9, breaking from the extreme outside. Talk about this exciting performance.
Well, we were optimistic that this could happen. He had been training exceptionally well since he'd come in. He's just one of those colts that's very intelligent. Everything came very easily to him throughout his training this summer, and so we were very excited to get him started, and actually very upset or concerned when the race was initially drawn and he was on the also eligible. We caught a break and got a scratch, and that allowed him to draw in and get a post that can be an advantage for young horses. So he broke cleanly, put himself in a good spot, and it was just very, very professional debut.
What did Johnny say to you after the race?
Well, Johnny had actually breezed the colt from the gate for us, so he kind of knew what to expect, and or what we were all hoping for anyways. He had nothing but great things to say about it, and it was just a pretty straightforward performance.
He's by Super Saver, your Derby winner. That had to be pretty meaningful to you.
It is. It's really neat to to have a son of Super Saver do so well, and not only this colt, but Super Saver's off to a great start.
Yeah.
He's had 3 winners on the NYRA circuit already, and looks like he's got a big future.
How'd he come out of the race, and is the hopeful next?
He came out of it great. In fact, so well that we took him back to the track on the 3rd day. He was just feeling too well. So we're hoping to make the hopeful. That's kind of the plan that we've had in mind if this race were to go well, and it did.
Now, I noticed the 2 ladies who own him, I didn't recognize their names. Are they brand new clients for you?
They are. This is the first horse we've had for them. Alex Solis Jr. purchased this colt at the Fazig Tip and Sale in Adena Springs, and I was there. Knew the colt was very nice, and just happened to see Alex after the sell, and he said, "You train Super Saver. The clients are from Massachusetts, and they're looking for an East Coast trainer. Would you be interested?" And I was, absolutely. So kind of got lucky there. Alex was nice enough to introduce me to them, and it's been great so far.
What a nice way for new clients to get started. Has Alex's phone been ringing off the hook since the maiden win?
I think so. Anytime you see promising 2-year-olds that are 3-year-olds next year, generally that generates some excitement.
All right, today the big one, the $1.5 million Whitney and Palace Malice. About a year ago, he comes to Saratoga, and beginning in the Travers and continuing to the Jockey Club and the Breeders' Cup Classic, he developed some gait issues. What was happening?
He just didn't break well. It wasn't a behavioral issue so much as he didn't fire away from the gate, and that had been sort of something that had been a little bit of an Achilles heel for him at times. But he completely missed the break in the Travers and came away last, and then the fractions didn't really develop very quickly. And I thought he ran a huge race considering that. In the Jockey Club, I think on the day we were just second best. No one was going to beat the winner that day, and he ran well. But then again in the Breeders' Cup Classic, didn't break well and put himself in a bad position early on a track that you kind of wanted to be up close. So the great thing about this year, knock on wood, so far, he's kind of gotten past some of that stuff. Last year in the Bluegrass, just before he got to the wire, he saw some footprints on the track, and he got startled and went back to his left lead, and I thought it maybe cost him. And then, the gate issues in the Travers and the Breeders' Cup. So far this year, all four starts, he's been the consummate professional, hasn't made those little mistakes that have cost him. We're hoping that can continue.
Did you work with him specifically at the gate over the winter?
No differently than we did last year. And like I said, it wasn't so much that he was misbehaved in the gate or concerned about the gate. He just wasn't jumping away well. This year he has.
How's he changed mentally, physically from 3 to 4?
Well, he's already a beautiful horse and a big, strong colt, but he's made that natural maturation to 4, where he's just gotten bigger and stronger, but I think more than anything, it's he's more professional, and hopefully that continues to be the course. But to me, that's been why he's been so dominant so far. Is the professionalism is there that was there at times last year, but not every time.
Well, it's been a terrific 2014 for Palace Malice. We're about to take a look at his last start in the Metropolitan Handicap. He is number 1 in here, and you had to be a bit concerned with the post.
Very concerned about the post, and especially carrying top weight, drawing the one hole. It's hard to overcome those things, and I think this is the difference in him in 2014 and 2013. He didn't break super, but he was able to creep his way up the rail and put himself in a good position. Ends up having to wait on room a little bit, but what's exciting to me is what the Met really tells me is this horse is just extra special, because I don't think he's really at his best at a 1-turn mile. I think he's a mile and an eighth to a mile and a half specialist, but he's just talented enough and brilliant enough to do these type of things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because I commented on the show the week after the Met that I didn't really think this was his A race. Now, I know he was cutting back in distance, and as you say, you don't feel he's a pure miler. He did it on talent. So is there some room for improvement off this Met performance?
I think so. I think just because we're in the Whitney, hopefully going to be doing what he really wants to do, which is go 2 turns and run a mile and an eighth, and I think he's sharp enough now that he'll put himself in a good prominent stalking position. And I think this is the Whitney's more what he really wants to do, and like you said, he just did this on class and talent, and it's a remarkable achievement for a horse to win the Belmont and the Met, and it hasn't happened very often, so we're proud of him.
How's he training? How's he doing coming up to today's Whitney?
He's doing great. He's trained really well. I think everything has gone exactly according to plan since the Met. He breezed at Belmont twice, and then he's come here, and he's just, everything has gone perfectly. So feel like we're right on track.
You did have to change the workout by 24 hours because of weather. Is that any concern?
Not at all. And I was watching the forecast. I was a little concerned it could be wet on Sunday. I talked to Glenn Kozak, and he said if the forecast holds true, I'm going to have to at least back rake the main track, maybe seal it. So why sit around and worry about it? 24 hours shouldn't make any difference. So we got into really good work on Saturday, and as it turned out, the track was back raked Sunday morning, and then skies opened up about 8 o'clock. So I'm glad we got it out of the way. We got perfect racetrack to do it on, and he came out of it well.
All right. You also run a pair in the test stakes. but no my Miss Safiya. What's going on with her?
You know, she was training. We were originally planning to run her in the coaching club, and I just didn't feel like she was training quite as well as she had been. So we decided to pass that, considered the test. I think we've made some progress, but we're not exactly where we want to be. Don't really have a game plan in mind. We'll probably breeze her over the weekend, see how that goes, and we'll pick out a spot later on.
The big filly in the test is Sweet Whiskey. She comes off a very solid second in the Acorn as we pick it up. She is number 4 in the yellow saddle towel down toward the inside. Talk about Sweet Whiskey.
She's a quality filly, and she's run some big races. I think even though she didn't win the Acorn, you could argue that was her best performance. She's a quality filly, broke her maiden up here well last year, won the Old Hat at Gulfstream. I think 7 furlongs should be ideal for her. So she tends to run well fresh. That's why we made the decision to wait from the Acorn to the test, and so we're hoping that she can deliver her A game on Saturday.
There appears to be, and there usually is, a lot of early speed in the test stakes. She seems tractable.
She does. I think she's actually at her best, just off the pace. Should be plenty of that in here, so hopefully she can get a good stalking trip.
Now on paper, she's only only in quotes, a grade 3 winner, but she looks better than that.
I think she is, and I think this is her big opportunity here.
How's she training? How's she doing?
Really well. Yeah, she looks great. She's coming into it well. She's a filly that puts a lot into her training, and that's why we try to space them out a little bit, but she should be fit and ready to go.
Well, part of the speed could come from your other entrant, Red Velvet, who comes off a weakening 4th in the Victory Ride, and this is a tougher spot. Why the test for her?
We actually entered her earlier in the week in the Honorable Miss, thinking maybe 6 furlongs would be better for her, and testing older mares might be easier than going in this race. But looking at it, we felt like there is some pace in here, but she's very fast. We felt like she could make the lead. We're going to take the blinkers off and see if we can use her speed, but not quite as crazy as she was last time. You know, she didn't break real well, and Irad kind of asked her to go, and once you ask her to go, there's not much getting her back. So hopefully we can fine-tune that a little bit. I think her race prior to that was very impressive, and that's why she was favored, in the last race. But I think if she can get back to just using her speed without going too quick, she could have something to say.
You've got Capo Bastogne for the Vanderbilt. He hasn't run particularly well since winning the King's Bishop here last year. Will the return to Saratoga be enough to get him jump-started?
I wish this race were 7 furlongs like the King's Bishop, because I think he's probably a little better at 7 than he will be at 6. But we put blinkers on him last time, and it's the first time in a while that he got involved in the race early. So he needs a super hot pace, and he'll be coming late. We'll hope that the 6 is enough ground, but hopefully the blinkers will get him just a little closer than he had been prior to that.
Before we let you go, want to get an update on a number of your 3-year-olds. And I guess we'll kind of do this in chronological order as to when they went to the sidelines. Beginning with Constitution, very nice colt earlier this winter, Florida Derby winner. What's going on with him?
Constitution's at Windstar Farm, and he had, actually Elliot Walden told me this morning, he's had his 2 breezes, both just very relaxed 3/8 breezes. And I would anticipate we'll probably see him up here later in the meet to train, not to run.
Is it too early to think about when you might be able to get him back to the races?
Well, I think he'll make the races probably in September sometime. The question is, where and what race that will be. So we'll just kind of get him in and assess how his fitness level is. But he's a horse that I anticipate would come to hand pretty quickly. He's just a natural athlete that will probably get fit pretty quickly. So there's, hope that we'll see him this fall.
Danza, in my opinion, ran an outstanding 3rd in the Kentucky Derby as a pretty inexperienced colt, but we haven't seen him since. What's going on with Danza?
Danza's at my dad's training center in Ocala, and the Triple Crown campaign just took a bit of a toll on him. He was pretty tired after the Derby. He broke out in a skin rash all over him, and it just lost some weight. And he came a long way in a short period of time to be able to go off an allowance win in the Arkansas Derby and the Kentucky Derby. A lot of quality there, and we just felt like, let's give him a break, give him some time. So I think my dad's probably going to start him back in training here pretty soon.
If you had told me after that third in the Gulfstream allowance sprint, he chased wide on that track, I understand that. But if you had told me he was going to run a bang-up third in the Kentucky Derby, I would have never believed you.
No, you could have probably got 100 to 1 on him at that point. He paid $40-something in the Arkansas Derby. So, he just, he seemed to, the allowance race moved him forward. He seemed to just getting better and better. And so we kind of took a calculated risk in the Arkansas Derby, and it paid off.
And finally, Rock Fall, who, as well as Coup de Grace ran in the Amsterdam, and he ran very well. Rock Fall figured to be a major factor last Saturday, but you scratched him. What happened?
Like they say in racing, things can go bad overnight. The Colt breezed great the week before, seemed to be coming up good. We entered him. I didn't like the way he was galloping the last couple of days before the race. We did some precautionary x-rays and found a little bit of bruising on the bottom of his cannon bones, and we sent him to Stone Street for probably a 45-day vacation.
Well, Todd, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. And we want to say thank you. We want to show our appreciation by giving you this $100 gift card to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill, 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga. Open every day for lunch and dinner, beginning at 11:30. So please take this with our regards. Have a nice lunch or dinner. And good luck this afternoon with Palace, Malice, and all the rest.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay.
Todd Pletcher, ladies and gentlemen.